Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Cody Proctor. This is the KREM 2 News Week in Review, where each weekend we bring you headlines from the past week in the Inland Northwest. Let's get started with one of the biggest news stories of the past few days.
Right now, Elijah Reagan is in Whitman County Jail facing arson and attempt to elude charges. Newly filed court documents detail what investigators found inside his Pullman apartment after the explosion. The Pullman arson suspect is back in Whitman County, facing a judge for the first time since his arrest in Nez Perce County over the weekend.
I'm trying to sacrifice me.
Pullman police believe Elijah Reagan is responsible for setting a fire to his Military Hill apartment by using a firework. Whitman County court documents say detectives recovered a T-handle style explosive detonator, the kind used for TNT, and what appeared to be a mortar tube from the suspect's apartment. Investigators say Reagan fired the mortar inside his unit, blowing a hole through the ceiling and sparking the fire. The explosion forced roughly 30 people to evacuate.
Your Honor, it's pure fortune, I think, at this point, that nobody else was injured in the apartment building.
Court documents say Reagan told his estranged wife he bombed his apartment and that she should leave town because bad people were after him. She told investigators Reagan gets paranoid when he uses meth. After the explosion, Reagan led law enforcement on a high-speed chase that ended just north of Lewiston. Court documents say deputies found Reagan armed with a rifle.
While he was stopped, he was smoking cigarettes, drank beer, and appeared to be smoking methamphetamine until the incident came to a stop.
Tonight, Reagan is being held in Whitman County Jail with a $250,000 bond. He'll be back in court on Friday to enter his plea. Reporting from the Whitman County Courthouse, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Well, we are now learning more details about this vandalism suspect's background, both with the law and here in the Inland Northwest. However, we are not releasing his name until he is formally charged. A man has been released on his own recognizance after allegedly vandalizing the state capitol late Sunday night. In newly released surveillance video of the vandalism, you can see a man crash his car outside of the state capitol and walk up to an office window with a hammer where he later breaks in. Once inside, cameras show the man dressed in blue jeans, a blue shirt, a baseball cap, and one of his arms in a cast start throwing flags, tipping over busts, and setting things on fire inside the state reception room.
The symbolism of entering our house of democracy and engaging in vandalism and destruction is itself also heartbreaking.
Washington Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck says that despite the extensive damage to the historic building, crews will be working around the clock to repair and protect everything else inside.
We just have to figure out a way to turn the temperature down in this country.
Washington State Patrol responded to the call Sunday night and says the suspect was inside of the Capitol for roughly 11 minutes. WSP says this case doesn't appear to be politically motivated, but rather a mental health crisis. After some digging, we were able to verify that this man once played baseball for Gonzaga University and later for the Jupiter Hammerheads, where he was released back in 2019. We reached out to the Jupiter Hammerheads for a statement on this case, but they, quote, have no further comment on this matter, end quote. We did also reach out to Gonzaga for a statement, but have yet to hear back from them. Although this isn't the suspect's first run-in with the law, he has been arrested for trespassing 2 times in the last 5 years on the west side. Right now, he's facing burglary in the 2nd degree and malicious mischief in the 3rd degree. A Thurston County judge did order a mental health evaluation for this suspect. If charges are filed, he will be back in court on Friday. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
57-year-old Dupree Meadows faced a judge this afternoon charged with arson and assault in the 1st degree. Court documents state on September 17th at around 3 p.m., the victim, David Karn, was set on fire under the North Brown Street Viaduct in downtown Spokane. Police say both men knew each other for 10 years prior. Witnesses told officers they saw a man matching Meadows' description, lighting Karn on fire and running away shortly after.
Due to this, he suffered burns over 67% of his body. He had to be medevaced to Harborview Hospital in Seattle, Washington to treat all of the injuries.
Court documents show detectives uncovering items including a lighter, a torch made of aluminum pipe, and a rag, and a plastic milk bottle with holes on the top containing a flammable liquid. Judge Eugene Cruz cited Meadows' criminal history, including an outstanding bench warrant held by Meadows for stealing a motor vehicle back in 2024 after failing to appear in court. Spokane police were able to arrest Meadows after they saw him walking downtown on Sunday afternoon. His arraignment's scheduled for October 9th. Judge Cruz later commented the actions towards Karn are especially worrisome as he has nowhere to live in Spokane.
The accusations listed certainly are highly concerning. They do touch on community safety, and they also involve a vulnerable individual who was unhoused.
Meadows' defense attorney declined to speak during his first appearance.
As we go to break, here's a check of your forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. It has been a busy week all across the inland Northwest, so let's catch you up on some of the news you might have missed.
Mark, Spokane's police chief says his officers are arresting people, especially here in downtown, for public drug use and trespassing. But when it comes to enforcing that camping ban, that's a different story.
We recognize that some of the things that we've tried in the past just aren't working.
It's back to the drawing board for Spokane's anti-camping ordinance. Passed in July, it focuses on outreach over citations, giving the unhoused a warning before officers can arrest or clean up an encampment. Chief Kevin Hall says his officers have given 0 citations for camping, but also have had 0 success connecting unhoused campers to services as hoped. Now the city plans to amend the law to give officers more discretion on using arrests to leverage compliance.
Will be a tool that they can use to leverage folks to get to this facility, to re-engage with their caseworkers, to get hooked up with services, medical triage, and hopefully allow them to get on the path to recovery.
One of the places officers can divert people to is the Cannon Street Navigation Center, now operating daytime-only hours under Mayor Lisa Brown's homelessness plan.
Jail is one option. It's not the solution.
And Hall says the city will need to look at all its options, which is why SPD compiled a list of chronic offenders who use the most resources, like police and behavioral health.
So we've worked with our partners at the jail to get 10 dedicated jail beds so that these folks, all of whom have charges, I've seen the list, they will go to jail.
Chief Hall says they've also coordinated with the county court system, so judges won't release these repeat offenders until they're stabilized. These high utilizers will also receive services during and after incarceration. Spokane City Council will have to approve any changes to the ordinance. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Multiple community members spoke for and against the proclamation, knowing it held no sway over what happened.
I, William McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, do proclaim October 14th a day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk.
It was standing room only at Tuesday night's Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting, but not for long.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Not my hero. Are they going to be removed? Love your races.
A group of attendees left the meeting angered and offended at Mayor Woody McEvers for proclaiming next Tuesday as a day of remembrance for conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kirk was shot and killed during a speaking event in Utah last month. Mayor McEvers felt it was necessary to proclaim Kirk's birthday, October 14th, as a day to remember Kirk's life and work as an outspoken religious conservative.
Charlie Kirk's assassination was a tragedy for his family, friends, and the rest of us, whom he inspired to be courageous, to stand up for our faith and stand up for biblical truths in politics.
Erin Barnard spoke in favor of the proclamation, saying it helps the city honor a person she and many other community members admired greatly. But other attendees, such as Coeur d'Alene native Cassiana Azzolini, argued against it. She says Kirk's death, while tragic, is one of many taken too soon due to political violence and should not have an entire day devoted to honor him alone.
I think creating a separate day, a new day, rather than his birthday would have been a better remembrance for all victims, Idahoans and honorary ones too, to move forward united, standing not behind one name but beside one another.
Attendee after attendee spoke varied opinions about the proclamation during the public comment portion of the meeting, saying it's either helping or hurting the city for what it stands for. While supportive of the proclamation, Barnard also expressed frustration during public comment with council for not reading out the entire proclamation, accusing Mayor McEvers of not feeling comfortable to do so.
Was it pressure from city councilmen or pressure from liberals? I don't know yet.
A day of remembrance event is scheduled for October 14th at the Coeur d'Alene City Park Band Shell from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Thanks for joining KREM 2 News this weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Right now, we're taking a look back at some of the news stories from the past week in this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review.
Months after the city of Spokane started to work toward its own emergency dispatch, independent from SHREC, some realities are apparently just now becoming clear.
I was fearful for the first time in this process.
During a September 22nd meeting, Fire Chief Julio Berg briefed council on expected delays in fire response with a changeover in SHREC's computer-aided dispatch.
It will literally have to be a dispatcher calling and saying, do you have an engine or a truck or a battalion chief available?
Right now, the city and SHREC use Automatic Aid. A computer system dispatches the closest firefighting resources to an emergency. But by spring, when SHREC launches a new CAD program called Hexagon, city units won't be in the system.
This is what Hexagon will see on March 27th when Hexagon goes live.
Emergency calls will still go to SHREC, but must be manually transferred to the city's secondary answering point. Chief Julio Berg told council SFD was intentionally deleted from the system.
When they went to do the new architecture, they pulled everyone out, so they technically deleted the city as well, but not out of spite.
SHREC Board Chair Cody Rohrbach says in order to remove naming duplications in Hexagon, fire apparatus named the same thing, techs started from scratch. Except Spokane Fire wasn't added back into the system because in July, the city said it was using its own CAD. A consultant report also shows the city faces a nearly $100 million cost to start its own primary dispatch. Part of that will be setting up that independent CAD system, which Rohrbach says will cost the city about $5.5 million, double what it would have paid to stay on SHREC's system.
And we need to find a way to do this collaboratively, because without a solution that works for everyone, there's going to be very real consequences to some of the decisions that have been made.
Rohrbach says there is still time for Spokane to join the regional computer system, but SHREC needs answers soon. Board leaders were set to discuss all of this with council Monday, but in an email shared with KREM 2, Public Safety Chair Zach Sapone moved the conversation to November. Council President Betsy Wilkerson sent a statement saying the city remains committed to reaching an accountable resolution and the safety of Spokane residents remains top priority. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
The sunshine in Sequim is the perfect place to farm. A grueling lifestyle, fourth-generation dairy farmer Ben Smith knows firsthand.
Busy's good though, right? Stay out of trouble.
His family milked 400 dairy cows at their peak. They also farm hay for the animals, corn silage, barley, and vegetable seeds.
We're farming right now about 1,000 acres.
But it's not just sun needed to farm, it's access to water also. In recent decreasing rain and mountain snow is lowering river levels where they irrigate to water their crops, having a domino effect.
We have a limited resource in water. We have, decreasing fish runs, and we have a need to produce food.
It's already a dry place to live thanks to the Olympic Mountains. While the coastal side of the mountains soaks up more than 100 inches of rain per year on average, this side's totals are around just 17 inches thanks to the rain shadow, which is essentially when the mountains suck up all the moisture coming from the Pacific. That is felt in the nearby Dungeness River, where dry weather, drought, and farmers irrigating leaves little water for spawning salmon.
The Sklallam will very frequently refer to themselves as salmon people.
Huntsy Halls, director of natural resources for the Jamestown Sklallam tribe, says the tribe had already worked to rehab this river when drought conditions worsened.
Now we have habitat, we have fish, and we're watching, well, what else is going on to limit fish? And we're seeing that in the last several seasons, we've had declared drought.
Here, there are multiple players with one shared goal, so they teamed up to keep the river flowing.
Water can be sort of this contentious thing, But here everybody knows it's important for human use, but also for the environment. So you have all these different groups that are really wanting to work together and find an answer to keep as much water in stream to help the salmon.
Chris Zernecki with the nonprofit Washington Water Trust says they've now started implementing a new system during drought years, and they saw the success this summer.
We work with the farmers, and they opt into this program where they can choose not to irrigate their land for the last month of the irrigation season, so in August and September. And instead, that water stays in stream, where it helps the fish that are returning from the ocean at that time.
When water levels are at their critical lowest and salmon are returning to spawn, the farmers get paid to stop irrigating and farming.
We gathered our data and said, okay, if we lose our last crop, we know what that production loss is, and said, this is what it's going to take to make us whole for that last cutting that we're basically foregoing by not irrigating.
Which can be a quarter of their season lost. But a necessary element for this setup is funding, which comes from the Department of Ecology and Amazon, who pledged $750,000 over 3 years.
You can't ask them to do something for nothing, but you have corporations that have water stewardship goals like we do with funding available.
And it's working.
That's been a great tool in our toolbox as a community to help both keep ag whole during those low flow drought years, basically being able to use those funds to go out and purchase the feed that we're not able to produce on our farm.
The ultimate goal, keeping water in the river for our precious salmon. They're seeing the multiple salmon species that swim through this water are returning and spawning, something everyone is glad to see.
They've been in trouble, the populations have been declining recently, so it's really important that we don't let these salmon species, again, this incredible symbol of the people in Washington, go away. We have to protect them and help them come back.
For Environment Northwest, I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti.
Welcome back. Before we wrap up this edition of the KREM 2 News Week in Review, we want to remind you that you can get the latest newscast and weather forecast anytime on KREM 2 Plus. It's free to watch and download for Roku, Amazon Fire, and on Apple TV. Now here's one more story before we go.
For generations, both young and old, time slows down with a trip around the Louvre. From the hand-carved wooden horses to the sounds of carnival-style music, this historic attraction from 1909 is worth traveling to see.
This is the National Carousel Association. This is our 52nd convention.
Betty Largent and her husband Don have been key figures in preserving the Louvre. Back in 1991, she started working at Riverfront Park.
Then by 1992, I was doing the restoration.
A few terms as the organization's president, and a couple years later, it's a special feeling to host another convention in her own backyard. Every year, the NCA picks a new city to celebrate their appreciation for a good carousel. And for just the third time, they've landed here in Spokane.
It's what we show off to our families when they come to visit Spokane. They have to be the garbage goat and ride the carousel.
It's something like a big reunion.
And these people here are considered family to us.
But even more than an opportunity to connect, this convention is all about a respect for history, art, and the work to preserve America's classic and remaining carousels in operation. In the meantime, when you're out of town and someone asks you about Spokane, don't forget to mention it's home of the Louvre. And who knows, maybe you're the next member or mascot of the National Carousel Association.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Wouldn't you like to go? We're going to Silverwood. Come on now.
From Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for spending part of your weekend with us on the KREM 2 News Week in Review. Be sure to keep it here on KREM 2 for more news and weather updates. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching.